So apparently, living the dream sometimes can have downsides. I mean, I had it all, and I didn't even need to work that much for it. Since I started high school, I slowly started realizing that I don't need people around me. When a party or school event was canceled and everyone was complaining, I secretly felt happy. It's not like I'm fully antisocial. I liked spending time with my friends, but I just didn't need it. I was completely fine alone, with my only connection to society being the internet. I finished high school like everyone else, and then went to university like nearly everyone else. And then came work. It was so boring. I saw the people around me and old friends burn out and become zombies who repeat every day the exact same way or start drinking or doing drugs in worst case, and then either die early or live as one of the thousands of bio-robots of a company. And the worst part was when I noticed that I started to behave the same way. Getting up early, going to work, coming home, feeding my pets, scrolling endlessly on social media, and then going to bed, thinking of how I wasted my whole afternoon again. And then the ad, which changed my life, randomly popped up. A farmhouse, a large one, miles away from everyone, for such a low price that I thought for sure it's a scam. I mean, who wouldn't want to live in a place like that? Even though I didn't think much of it at first. But then it popped up again and again. At one point, I checked the site. It seemed legit, so I eventually messaged the guy because I thought that I can always turn it off if it turns out to be a scam. Well, turns out it wasn't a scam. The guy inherited it from his parents but couldn't do anything with the house, so he tried to get rid of it as fast as possible. And now I'm here, thinking of the same, except I still want to continue this lifestyle, but not here. The first months went well. I was able to buy the livestock that was left on the barn as well, so I got a relatively easy start. I had chickens, ducks, 4 small cows, 2 pigs, and a donkey. This was a lucky start for me because I was able to learn the basic of animal keeping with a smaller population. In the following months, I expanded the number with 3 horses. It was an old dream of mine, and they were proved to be useful eventually. Some goats, turkeys, 2 emus, and a Leon Berger dog. Sorry, I'm getting off the subject. As the weeks passed, my routine started to form, but it was different than before. Here, everything which I had to do had a reason behind it, and I always had enough free time as well. Everything went fine until the first sign. I wish I took that seriously, but of course I didn't until it was too late. In the summer, I taught horse riding to some local kids. It earned me some money, and I liked working with them. They weren't loud and evil like many city kids, and I enjoyed that I could teach them about the animals in general as well. So hopefully they wouldn't grow up to think like many others who say that we are the only creatures that matter. On a late August afternoon, while we brushed the horses with some kids, who were big enough to do so, a girl turned to me. She was around 12 and obsessed with animals, particularly horses. That's common at her age, but she really cared about all parts of taking care of them, and not just the riding. So she was the one who turned to me with a scared face and asked, "You're going to lock them up real good when the wind howls in the autumn, right?" "Don't worry, they won't get cold," I answered with a grin. She knew so much about them for her age, and yet she was still a child, not knowing that most animals tolerate cold weather better than humans. "Of course they don't get cold. I'm talking about the times when the wind howls like a wolf. Will they be safe then? They shouldn't be able to see outside like you in those times." "Yes, darling, I'll make sure that they're safe. Yeah, I was stupid and I should have listened to the girl more, but I was tired, and to be honest, I didn't really care. I thought that she didn't want the horses to get scared or something, even though she knew better than that." Not long after, I basically forgot about this until September came, and one day I went to the store in the nearest village to buy some nails to fix up the fence by the cows. Getting ready for the howling winds? Asked the cashier as I paid for the nails. No, the buildings are pretty strong. They won't get blown away. I just need to fix the fence. The cashier gave me a strange look, but didn't say anything. Another month passed, and October arrived. At this point, it became my habit to sit out on the porch in a warm jacket and watch the afternoon turning into night. Mouse, my dog, was laying beside my chair as I drank some tea and watched the darkening sky. That's when the wind started getting stronger. Fortunately, I didn't feel much of it on the porch, but I saw the branches shaking and the leaves of the nearby trees falling and dancing in the porch light. Then, the sound started. At first, it was like the usual sound of the wind, but there was something unsettling in it. Before this point, no matter how strong the winds were, it never really made a sound. A memory formed in my mind, one of that summer afternoon with the little girl. You're going to lock them up real good when the wind howls in the autumn, right? And suddenly, it didn't seem like such a bad idea. At the time I finished closing the animals in their sheds, the wind was howling. It was exactly like multiple wolves. You couldn't tell the difference at all. Mouse waited for me on the porch, whining. I never heard him whine before, only when I came home after longer than 15 minutes, and he was excited. But now he was scared. I called him in the house and locked the door behind us. Not long after, the sound stopped. After the wind stopped, everything went silent for some time, and then something started to rustle outside. I peeked out of the front window to see what was causing it, and this nearly led to my death. At first, I saw nothing, and then, like some doomed musical, it started. It reminded me of the start of Cats. Please don't mention the movie. I'm not speaking about that abomination, where the actors come out to the stage and freeze one by one. Except these things weren't anything like actors. The first, which jumped into the glaze of the porch light, looked like a wolf at first glance. But as its friends arrived, one by one, frozen in the position which they landed in the light, I started to see some things that were off. They had longer fingers on their front legs, almost like ours, and their legs bended in weird angles. Their mouths were too wide, and their eyes didn't look like wolf eyes at all. Some of them didn't even have pupils, if I saw right. At first, they just stood there, frozen. Then, seemingly without any coordination, some of them vanished into the darkness, and then the others started to dance. Yes, they were dancing, or at least they were doing something very similar. I can't really describe it, but it looked so beautiful that I started to feel eager to join them, and constantly had to remind myself that this is not right. But the movement slowly sucked me in, until the point where I didn't even care when I saw the other creatures return with one of my horses. The poor animal's eyes were rolling in terror, but it couldn't run anywhere because the wolves surrounded it, leading it to the middle of a forming circle. And then everything stopped for a second. The horse stood perfectly still in the middle, while the wolves stalked it without any movement at all. And then one of them jumped onto the horse's back, its mouth opening awfully wide, ripping into the neck of the poor thing. This broke the stillness, and the pack immediately swarmed the body. There wasn't any order. They would even bite each other without hesitation. The beauty of their previous performance was gone, but not entirely. There was some beauty in this chaos, the primal rage of nature, which you can only feel when you have an adrenaline burst. I caught myself pressing my face to the window, my mouth watering as these unnatural beasts devoured the remains of one of my beloved animals. And then the one which I assumed to be the pack leader looked up with its blood-soaked face. It lifted one of its front legs and made the universal sign of "come here" with its weird, elongated fingers. I knew I had to go. I wanted to run with the pack, to howl with them in the night, to hunt, to become one of them. My legs carried themselves to the front door. I was stopped halfway. My dear, lovely mouse grabbed my shirt and started pulling it with all of his strength. Fortunately, he didn't tear the shirt. I stopped. The spell started to break. As the dog felt that I stopped, he let go of me and started barking. And that was the point when I got my full control back. Then I heard something scratching my door, then banging on it. Mouse stood in front of me, barking loudly at the door. I wasn't able to do anything. And then suddenly, as it began, it stopped. There was only silence, and then the wind. It howled like a wolf pack. There was nothing left of the poor horse when I checked in the morning. The 2 remaining horses and the donkey ran out of their shed, and I had to spend the morning trying to gain back their trust and build up their confidence to come back to their home. The next day, I went to the village to buy more nails, planks, and fence support. The cashier didn't say anything, but from his eyes, I knew that he knew why I needed those. Since that doomed day, it's happened 3 times. I didn't look out again, and there aren't any new victims. But the banging on the door keeps getting stronger. They are desperate. So please, always listen to the old village tales. You don't want a similar situation. And if the wind starts howling like a wolf, close everything and all of your animals, and never, ever look out. Hello everyone, I'm Giggles, and thank you so much for listening to my narration. A quick shout out to all my patrons: Melissa Perez, Geek Sanctuary, Lawrence Wallen, Andreas Anderson London, Eric Cifuentes, Krzysztof Kozak-Slazak, Jesse Hartley, and Icy Narrates. If you want to become a patron today, you can check out the link in my description below. And as always, thank you so much for your support. I'll see you in the next video.